All right, let's tackle a huge topic today, the study of us. We're going to dive deep into the world of anthropology to explore one of its biggest questions. What do all the variations between different groups of people really mean? As we're about to see, the answer is grounded completely in science. Now, to wrap our heads around something this big, we're going to use this really cool framework, the four mirrors. Think of each one as a specialized field within anthropology, and each one reflects a totally different but essential angle of what it means to be human. Together, they're going to be our guide. So here's our game plan. We'll start in the present, looking at culture and language. Then we're going to dig into our past with archaeology. And finally, we'll explore our physical selves with biology. You'll see how each step builds on the last, leading to a really powerful conclusion about the idea of race itself.
First things first, let's just lay out how these mirrors actually work together. You see, they're not four totally separate things. They're four interconnected ways of piecing together the incredible puzzle of who we are.
Okay, our first two mirrors, these look at what you could call the software of being human. Sociocultural anthropology dives into how we organize our lives and build communities. And then linguistic anthropology looks at the powerful code that holds it all together, language.
Now here's a really crucial distinction. A society is simply the group of people, but culture, well, that's the whole complex package. It's the tools they make, the beliefs they hold, the art they create. So culture isn't just the people, it's their entire way of life, the whole shebang.
So how on earth do you study something as huge as culture? Well, anthropologists have this really fascinating two-step method. First, they go deep with ethnography. They'll live inside a community for years to get this incredibly detailed insider's view. Then they zoom out with ethnology, comparing hundreds of those studies to find the universal patterns that connect all of us.
This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of it. Language is the genetic code of culture. Think about that. It's not just about how we talk. It's the blueprint we use to pass down our beliefs, our traditions, and our knowledge from one generation to the next. It's a lot like how DNA passes down biological traits.
And that cultural blueprint, our language, it actually shapes our reality. Take the classic example. A society that has dozens of words for snow doesn't just talk about winter differently, they literally perceive it differently than a society with just one word for it. The language you use helps build the world you see.
Okay, so while language transmits living culture, our third mirror, archaeology, looks backward in time. It's the study of cultures that aren't being actively passed down anymore. It's all about piecing together entire ways of life from the material clues people left behind. Archaeologists basically put these clues into three main buckets. You've got artifacts. Those are the portable things people made, like cools and pots. Then you have features, which are the non-portable structures they built, like house foundations. And finally, ecofacts, which are natural things, like animal bones, that tell us what the environment was like and what people were eating.
And by looking at all this evidence from all over the world, archaeology has uncovered a fundamental truth about our shared history. The findings just keep pointing to the same place, East Africa. Not just as a cradle of amazing civilizations, but as something way more profound, the birthplace of our entire species.
And that brings us to our final and, honestly, most powerful mirror, biological anthropology. This field shifts the focus from our cultural software to our biological hardware. It looks at humanity as a single species and asks, how did we evolve? And why do we see such a wide range of physical variation?
At the very core of this is the engine of evolution, natural selection. And it's so important to remember, this isn't random. It's a mechanism that's driven entirely by environmental pressure. It favors the genetic traits that help an organism survive and reproduce in one specific place.
So, where did that environmental pressure first start shaping us? The fossil record is just overwhelming on this. The remains of our earliest ancestors, like the famous fossil Lucy, or as she's known in Ethiopia, Dinknesh, they all firmly ground the human story in one place, the Great Rift Valley of East Africa.
As humans spread out from that African birthplace, we adapted in two key ways. Biological adaptation, the genetic stuff, is incredibly slow. We're talking thousands of years. But cultural adaptation, inventing clothes, controlling fire, building shelters, that is lightning fast. And this powerful combo is exactly what allowed our species to thrive on every single continent. Skin color is the absolute classic example of this. It's not some fixed category. It's more like a dial that the environment tunes. In high UV areas near the equator, Natural selection favored darker skin for protection from the sun, but in low UV regions farther north, it favored lighter skin to maximize vitamin D production. The advantage is equal, just for different environments. That's it. It's a brilliant adaptation, not a fundamental identity.
So, if our physical differences are really just clever adaptations to different environments, that begs a huge question, right? How did all this natural, beautiful variation get twisted into the rigid, hierarchical concept we call race?
Yeah, the concept of race didn't just appear out of thin air. You can see on this timeline, it started in the 18th century with some pretty simple geographic labels, but it morphed fast. Naturalists like Blumenbach started using subjective things like skull shape and beauty to rank people, putting his own Caucasian variety at the top as the ideal. This wasn't real science. It was an attempt to give a scientific-sounding reason for social prejudice.
And all of these flawed systems were rooted in one really dangerous idea: biological determinism. This is the totally false belief that surface-level traits like skin color are genetically hardwired to complex things like intelligence or morality. It's a scientifically bankrupt idea that was used to build the ideological foundation of racism.
And today, modern genetics has just completely demolished the biological concept of race. Why? Well, for two pretty simple reasons. First, there's just been way too much interbreeding or gene flow throughout our history to create separate, neat little genetic boxes. And second, our traits don't have sharp borders. They change gradually across geography, a pattern scientists call clinal variation. There are no genetic cliffs between people, only smooth, gentle slopes.
And this is exactly why scientists today talk about ancestry, not race. You see, race is a rigid social invention designed to create a hierarchy. Ancestry, on the other hand, is a fluid scientific reality. It describes our actual genetic heritage and the incredible story of our adaptations, without forcing us into these false, meaningless boxes.
So, when we look through all four of anthropology's mirrors, we arrive at this one powerful conclusion. The physical differences we see across the globe, they aren't signs of division. They are the living, breathing proof of our species' incredible shared history of adaptation and resilience.
And that leaves us with one last crucial thought. In biology, the health of any species is measured by its genetic diversity. So what do we risk? What do we stand to lose when we cling to these social categories that create division and just ignore that biological reality? Understanding our shared ancestry and our fundamental unity, it isn't just a hopeful social idea. It's a biological imperative.